that we are on the stage. Okay, yay. So happy Friday. Hope you're having an amazing week. A lot of people have had the sniffles lately. They've had fevers, they've had a feeling of clamminess, a challenging time in regulating body temperature. And I figured it would be a really good time to share my top tips on how to combat sickness. Because if you're busy working 14-hour days, building a business, you don't have time to be sick. I mean, that is just not something you can factor into your day. You can't be slowed down. You do not have time to go and find extra hands to help you when your livelihood depends on you feeling well. It is absolutely imperative that you prioritize your health and also your immune system. There are various things you can do to further support and supplement your immunity, and that's what I wanted to share with you today. If you have any questions, please just drop them in the comment section. I will, of course, reply and respond as quickly as I can and make sure I address your topics of concern. So, with that said, I wanted to start with supplements because I figured this is going to capture people's attention. And a lot of people like to understand what they can take once they are sick. But what is more powerful than that is understanding what you can do on a day-to-day basis and what you can take potentially on a day-to-day basis to prevent the onset of sickness and how you can strengthen your body's resilience to things such as the common cough, cold, and flu. So with that said, I should perhaps suggest you get the annual flu shot. If you're due, now is a great time to go and do that because seasons are changing here in Singapore, in the slightly northern hemisphere, because we're just above the equator. We are seeing a little bit more rain and it is hotter than usual, if you can believe that. So getting the flu jab is going to be tremendously beneficial for a lot of people, especially if you have a compromised health status, if you have an autoimmune condition, if you are pregnant or planning on conceiving. That is going to be well worth the investment of your time and energy. So please get the flu shot if you know that you are particularly susceptible to coughs and colds. Now, moving into what you can do and what you can take, more practically speaking, there are two supplements that I gravitate towards, which I do take on a daily basis for various reasons. Now, again, everything with a grain of salt. You need to consult your own health professionals and you need to make your own choices for you. Though these two particular supplements I find to be tremendously helpful in warning off disease and illness and ensuring that I don't get full-on symptoms if and when I am surrounded by people who have full-on symptoms. So those two supplements are going to be zinc, particularly zinc picolinate, because it tends to be a faster absorbing, if not the fastest absorbing form of zinc, and vitamin C. So let me get into the nitty-gritty behind that. Zinc, you should also know, and this is a more recent discovery for me, is that often we see a depletion in zinc levels when taking oral birth control. And from what I've read up on, hormonal replacement therapy can also negatively influence your zinc levels, as in it can have a tendency to reduce your bioavailable zinc. So with that said, if you are taking oral contraceptives and or if you are on hormone replacement therapy, I would suggest you have your zinc tested and measured in your next routine blood work, just so that you have that insight and information there. Because if your zinc is on the low side, you are going to be more likely to get coughs and colds and flus, unfortunately, at a more regular basis. Personally, I can relate to this. I have been on hormonal birth control, not recently, but at one point I was for 7 consecutive years. And I got sick for about 7 months when I went off oral contraception. And even though I've been supplementing for a long time, my levels were still low. So switching zinc supplements to now taking the picolinated form, the fast absorbing form, Hopefully my levels are now where they should be. I certainly feel better. I feel more resilient to, again, coughs, colds, flus. It's a lot harder for me to get full-on symptoms, which is nice. I need to have my blood work updated this December, so let me check back in with you on that. Though it is worth noting, if you are, again, taking oral contraception or hormonal replacement therapy, your zinc levels may be compromised. It is definitely worth having that tested when you next have routine blood work done. In terms of dosage for zinc, 50 milligrams daily, or at least 30. Again, if you tend to get sick more often, if you have an autoimmune condition, if you're taking oral contraception or hormonal replacement therapy, then you may want to go for a slightly stronger dose of 50 milligrams daily. Please take zinc with food, otherwise you will feel incredibly nauseous, and that's not fun for anyone. So when you do take zinc, make sure that is with a meal. And in terms of time of day, it doesn't seem to be particularly sensitive to timing. So whenever you remember and whenever you're about to have a meal is going to be, generally speaking, a good time. I double my dosage when I feel that I have a little bit of something. So at the moment in Singapore, there's a lot of, I would say there's a bit of virus going around. A lot of people have a few symptoms of feeling overheated, feeling challenged in regulating body temperature, feeling clammy, sore throats are going around at the moment. So I've been doubling my dosage just to further stay nice and resilient against that so that I don't get full-on symptoms. Crossing fingers, it does the trick, and so far it's working. And typically speaking, I just take it daily. Again, last time I tested, I was deficient, even though I was supplementing. And I hope that this different form of zinc is going to get those levels up to where we want to see them. The picolinate zinc is what I'm currently taking. That's just the type. That's not a brand. In terms of brands, look, you can go into iHerb and just search zinc picolinate. I'm not affiliated with anyone, and I think it's much of a muchness when it comes to zinc. You can get some pretty good supplements from iHerb, so that is usually my go-to. In terms of vitamin C, if we move on to vitamin C, L-ascorbic acid, we also know it as, is going to be a great one, especially this time of year. Again, people are getting a few coughs, colds, sniffles, issues in feeling their normal body temperature, so feeling clammy, having a temperature. I like 1,000 milligrams daily as a maintenance dosage. And a protocol I've recently come across, which has worked really well for myself as well as my clients, has been to take 1,000 milligrams, which is also a gram, every hour for 6 hours, and then reducing to 3 dosages of 1 gram until symptoms subside. So that may sound like a lot, and I'm sure it does, though every single time I've followed this protocol and every time my clients have followed this protocol, it's done a really good job at keeping those symptoms at bay and certainly ensuring they do not worsen or intensify. So if we're looking at vitamin C is much of a muchness. It's L-ascorbic acid. When you look at the supplement, it should just say 100% L-ascorbic acid. Often the recommendation will be 500 milligrams to 1,000 milligrams daily. I do actually have the supplement with me. It's in my bag. I'm currently using the Go Vita or Go Vita. I'm going to say Go Vita, I think would be the correct pronunciation. It's a New Zealand brand, which in Singapore you can get from Guardian. Great supplement, chewable tablets, comes in orange flavor, comes in blackcurrant flavor. I like it. It does the trick for me. But again, I think vitamin C is much of a muchness. It's L-ascorbic acid. That's kind of it. The main thing is that you get the dosage correct. And 500 milligrams to 1,000 milligrams daily for most adults will be a great starting point. Again, if you feel that you're starting to get something, I would go to 1,000 milligrams every hour for the first 6 consecutive hours, then reduce to 3 times 1,000 milligrams daily, so breakfast, lunch, and dinner, until symptoms subside, then go on to the normal maintenance dosage. Interestingly, we have also seen a reduction in vitamin C levels for people taking oral contraception and hormonal birth control. From what I've observed, that is not uncommon. So, again, next time you're doing routine blood work, just look into vitamin C. Be mindful of the vitamin C rich foods you're getting in your diet. It is something we need to get through the diet because we can't synthesize it ourselves. It's so vitamin C, just a little bit of background information, is a water soluble vitamin typically found in orange and red, especially red colored foods, and citrus. So if we think about, strawberries, raspberries, bell peppers, if we think about citrus being limes, oranges, mandarins, they tend to be especially high in vitamin C. And again, we can't synthesize it from our bodies ourselves. We need to get it externally through food. So it is really, really important that we do get it in our diet, obviously. Also helps with collagen synthesis. So if you're taking a collagen supplement to make your skin all nice and firm and perky and bouncy and springy, a great way to maximize the efficacy of that is to combine that with vitamin C. And if your collagen supplement has vitamin C in it, even better. It's just a little side note. So your skin will thank me for that little tip, but citrus, the vitamin C rather you get from citrus can increase the efficacy of your collagen supplement. Do I recommend collagen supplements is another question altogether, but I will leave you with that. So the way that vitamin C works, the reason why it has a positive impact on your immune system is it increases your white blood cells. So it increases your neutrophils, which is a type of white blood cell, and that basically helps the body's defense system get to work. It kind of just accelerates the process of the body starting to combat whatever illness it's trying to fight off. So it just makes it stronger. The army of like T cells that it puts together just becomes a little bit stronger. So that's how that works. If we just backtrack a little bit and if we go to zinc, I want to mention that some zinc-rich foods, oysters, if you like oysters, are going to be your number one choice. We also find zinc in things such as pumpkin seeds, such as red meat, poultry, legumes, nuts, and some dairy as well. Zinc is especially good at preventing colds, upper respiratory tract infections, and really reduces the duration for which we experience these symptoms. So instead of having a cold for 7 days, you may have a cold for 5 days. If you're having cold symptoms for 5 days, taking zinc and vitamin C can really reduce that down to 3. But again, you have to be consistent with this and you have to be quick to start taking it. I cannot emphasize this enough. The sooner you start doing these things, the sooner you notice the change. So if everyone in your office has some sort of cough, sniffle situation going on and you feel like you're just a sitting duck, like just waiting to get it, go to the chemist, get zinc, get vitamin C, stop sitting on your bum just waiting to catch it, like go and do something about that. This is what I do. If my clients are coming in and they're feeling under the weather, I immediately increase my dosage of zinc and vitamin C. I do not wait. Just like, who's got time for that? Go and get zinc, go and get vitamin C. If there's one takeaway from this whole talk, presentation, TED talk, go and get zinc and vitamin C like now, because that's going to make a tremendous difference. And again, the sooner you can take it, the sooner you have that resilience to the illness, the more prepared your body is to fight it off should you get symptoms and should they get worse, which we don't want. So prevention is key. Moving on from there, other noteworthy supplements include aged garlic. And so this appears to work in a similar way to vitamin C in the sense that it increases your white blood cell count and starts attacking the intruders. So all the bad germs that are coming in through a process called phagocytosis. So aged garlic. Now, why aged? Well, like a fine wine, it just gets better with age. No, it could be true. But the aged garlic carries less of a scent. So we all know what it's like to be on the receiving end of garlic breath. That ain't much fun. The aged garlic has much less of a scent, which is nice, but it maintains its efficacy. So that is really, really helpful. Also in increasing the production of T cells. So again, just the body's ability to fight off viruses, bacteria, anything that you're coming into contact with on a day-to-day basis, which may reduce the strength of your immune system. This is what T cells are going to help to combat. It reduces your risk of colds. Current research suggests by up to 60%, and that is pretty damn good. So well worth the time, well worth finding an aged garlic supplement. And again, we tend to see that this is best split over multiple dosages. So what I've written here is 600 to 1,200 milligrams daily in 3 dosages. So that's going to be 3 times 200 milligrams or 3 times 400 milligrams daily. Though in general, just a good inclusion in your cooking and the foods that you're eating. So you can also get the benefits from garlic itself. You do need to cut it or crush it in order to activate those biocompounds, which are going to have that illness fighting property. So yes, if you would just rather take garlic in your food, as in you would just prefer to eat garlic, then just do that. That is totally fine as well. Some research suggests they can be as effective as non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. So garlic is a pretty interesting one and definitely a beneficial one when it comes to your immune system. Two other herbs that I've come across, and these are herbs. So African geranium has been found to be effective in reducing the ability of bacteria adhering to your throat and lungs. So for those of you who tend to get coughs and throat infections or upper respiratory tract infections, they have found that 800 milligrams of the dry plant weight daily, divided into 3 dosages, has been effective at reducing the duration and severity of coughs and sore throats. So if that is you, if you're the person who, whenever you get something, it goes straight to your throat, this is definitely going to be worth looking into. So the African geranium, it's also known as, Pelargonium pseudoides, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I'm no expert in the pronunciation. In any case, that is going to be tremendously beneficial if your throat is sore, if your throat is itchy, scratchy, if you get upper respiratory tract infections. This herb has been found to prevent the bacteria from sticking to your throat and lungs. So a very, very, very good one. Remember, these dosages too are for adults. So if you have children, then just double check the recommended dosage for children, because I am not familiar with that. What I am sharing today is specific to adults. So please just bear that in mind. And like always, consult your general practitioner, your medical practitioner before doing this. I cannot see you and consult you. I'm not a doctor. But what I have is a ton of knowledge in supplements and wellness and fitness and a degree in public health. So that is where my scope ends. Okay, so just remember that. Now, when it comes to people who always get sinus problems, who get sniffles, sneezy, runny noses, and allergies, spirulina might be a good one for you, okay? And spirulina can be helpful because it's a protein-rich algae, but it has anti-inflammatory effects, particularly when it comes to the sinus and nasal congestion. We have found this to be helpful at a dosage of 2 milligrams daily, taken for 12 weeks. So again, if you're the person who, whenever you get sick, it just goes straight to your nose, you get sneezy, you get a runny nose, you get allergy-like symptoms, then spirulina might be the one for you. You can get that in powdered form. You can get that in tablet form. iHerb is probably going to be the best place to find that if you're in Singapore, and 2 milligrams daily for 12 weeks should be good enough to see a change in those symptoms. And when we're on the topic of sinus, what I also like to do, especially for people who travel a lot, is a neti pot. So a neti pot is going to look a little bit like a squashed down teapot. The idea is it's like nasal irrigation which is not such a sexy word or term. You fill it with boiled water, and typically there's a saltwater solution that you put in it. You tilt your head, the water goes through one side of the nose, the nasal cavity, and drains down the other. Yeah, so that's quite the graphic for you. I hope you're not eating as you hear this. I should have given you a warning. So you would do one side, and then obviously you would repeat on the other side. The benefits to this, speaking from my own experience, have been tremendous. Typically, if I feel unwell, my sinus is the first part of my body to tell me. I get sinus issues often. I find it very hard to go from dry, cold air indoors in Singapore, and no one tells you about how freezing aircon is here. It makes my fingernails go purple. But to then go outside where it's very hot and humid, now I like heat and I don't mind humidity to an extent, but it's quite a contrast in air temperature and quality of air, and obviously humidity, like the moisture in the air. That does a lot for the sinus. The sinus doesn't really like that. And constantly going from one type of air to the other, and by type I mean, again, hot and humid versus cold and dry, that can really accelerate the rate at which you start to get sinus type infections, congestion, phlegminess, all that deliciousness. So using a neti pot honestly has been a game changer for me. I would say it saves me from going on antibiotics 2 to 3 times a year, because I would routinely do this 2 to 3 times a week, where once I've had a shower and my nasal cavity is a little bit more open, or the airways have kind of expanded, then I would use the neti pot on average 2 to 3 times a week as like maintenance. And then if I feel as though I'm starting to get something like a sinus infection, I would then use the neti pot every single day, if not twice a day if my symptoms are really bad. Though I have not had to use antibiotics for a sinus infection for years. And I really heavily put that down to using a neti pot and discovering them in the first place and understanding all of the benefits. So if you get sinus infections, if you are on planes a lot, if you have trouble kind of equalizing out the pressure in your ears and you feel like your sinus is just blocked a lot of the time, if you're going from, climate control indoors in hotels with no windows to then going outdoors and the air being very, very different, a neti pot can really, really, really work wonders. I found mine on iHerb. iHerb, what can you not find there? I think everything but the kitchen sink. So neti pot would be N-E-T-I. I believe that's how you spell it. It could be double T-I. I have one which is ceramic, so I can just put it in the dishwasher, which is a great way to sterilize it. There are plastic ones which are a little bit more travel friendly. Also worth looking into, again, if you travel often and if you're in different climates a lot of the time. This is a great way to keep those infections at bay. So I think it's worth mentioning the neti pot. Tremendous difference, personally speaking. Other things that you can do just in general for your immune system and improving that. You're going to hate me for stating the obvious, but drinking water. And why does this help? Because your lymphatic system, which is responsible for processing all the waste in the body, so all of the interactions we have with pollution on a day-to-day basis, toxins, chemicals, everything is a chemical arguably, but I think you are picking up on what I'm trying to say. The lymphatic system helps the body to process that and remove it. So what we need when it comes to optimal lymphatic function is a few things. We need movement, so being on your feet more often, being active is certainly going to help. And by composition, lymph is 90% water. So if you're not drinking 3 liters of water a day, I would say there's really no chance that your lymphatic system is operating to the degree that it could. It's certainly not it's not optimized. It's not operating at an optimal level. When it comes to lymphatic system, we really, 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 really need to get enough water. And again, I'm going to say it for the 1 millionth time here, but I really, truly feel that 4 liters of water a day is what the average adult in Singapore should be aiming for. It's a hot climate, it's a humid climate. If you're active, you're going to need to replace that liquid at a faster rate. If you're active outdoors, then you're going to sweat even more, which means you're going to need to take in even more water. Okay, for every liter we lose in sweat, we need to replace at a ratio of 2 to 1. So if you go for a run outdoors this afternoon, you lose a liter of sweat, you actually need to take in 2 liters to sufficiently replace that lost liter. So it's not 1 to 1, it's actually 2 to 1. For every liter lost, you need 2 to replace it. A lot of people don't realize that. So it's a lot more water than you realize. And again, by composition, lymph is 90% water, and the average adult turns over 3 liters at night. So that's at least 2.6 liters of water. Yeah, it's a lot more than what you think. Again, movement, being outdoors, getting fresh air, getting some sunlight, improving your vitamin D levels is always going to help, and your lymph will thank you for that. So lymphatic system optimization, getting more water, getting more movement, and just avoiding obvious things such as drugs, alcohol, smoking. Again, sometimes you think these things don't need to be said, but actually they do. So hence me stating the obvious. Other things that I like, other products I like and personally use, the Betadine throat spray and the throat gargle, I have found to be super, super, super helpful. Again, whenever I feel that my throat might be a little bit scratchy, a little bit itchy, and as though I might be getting a little bit of a throat something, I will go straight to the Betadine throat spray, and I just spray it straight on the back of my throat, and I will do that more than what the label suggests. So please follow the instructions of the label. I'm the sort of person who goes a little kiasu and goes a little, cray when it comes to these things. But I believe, 2 sprays in the back of the throat 2 to 3 times a day when you feel that you have a little bit of an itch should do the trick. Helps a lot. And again, the greatest efficacy comes from using these products and protocols the moment you notice, not once you are sick. Okay, so the idea is always to do these things when the people around you are unwell, or when you're going to a different climate and going to a different environment, especially for those who might be traveling in November and December. If you're going to north to southern hemisphere, that can be a big temperature change. It can be a big change in climate. That is when you're more likely to experience these things. Your immune system is going to be compromised. You're going to be jet lagged. You're going to be tired. That's already a bit hit. That's already a big hit to the immune system. And then to add to that, you're probably not sleeping well. That's another hit to the immune system. You're trying to adjust between temperatures and climates and air quality and humidity in the air. It's another hit to the immune system. So, and chances are you're stressed because traveling can be stressful, and buying birthday presents and Christmas presents and remembering to pack them in the suitcase, that can be stressful. So the last thing we need on top of that is to forget our supplements and to be in a state of reaction rather than being proactive. So again, when it comes to keeping illness at bay, it's always having that awareness of, okay, well, where am I traveling to? Is it flu season in the country I'm traveling to? Are the people around me falling sick or feeling unwell? That is when you start increasing your dosage, not the moment you actually fall unwell. Because if you are aware enough and proactive enough, you don't actually get sick. Not full-on symptoms. Again, you might have a day with an itchy throat. You might have a day where you feel a little congested in the sinus. You may have a day where you feel a little lethargic, but with everything that I've suggested, if you incorporate that into your routine, and if you just generally live a healthy life, again, if you make sleep a priority, if you make it a priority to decompress and de-stress and get exercise and get sunshine, then, and to connect with other people, that's a good one, then you shouldn't ever feel that you actually really fall unwell or that you ever are really, really sick and slowed down due to sickness. So Betadine throat spray, I really like. You can find it in chemists, can find it online. That one is not too hard to acquire in most parts of the world. And the other thing too is just, I wrote down quarantine like you're training for the Olympics. So this is something that athletes do. If they're preparing for a meet, if they're preparing for a competition, they will really reduce their interactions with other people. Like they will not go to the shops to get, the odd errand or the odd groceries. They will have that delivered to their house. And this is just a really smart and sensible thing to do, because every time you go outside and go and interact with other people, you are exposing yourself to their germs as well, and you don't know where they've traveled. And I see this in Singapore a lot, where every 3 to 4 months we all go on holidays and we go to the US and we go to Europe and we go to Australia and we go to other parts of Southeast Asia, and we all bring back the germs from those countries and we share them with each other. So Singapore ends up being a little bit of a petri dish in that sense. And then we all get sick, and then we all get better, and then we go on holidays and we travel, and the same thing happens. So if you are training for a competition, or if you are going to go on Christmas holidays and you don't want to be sick, or if you have a really big meeting that you're traveling to the US for or Europe for in the next, 2, 4, 6, 10 weeks, be really, really mindful of where you are going in your quote unquote spare time between now and then, and especially in the 2 weeks leading up to that event. If you don't have to go out, then don't. If you don't have to go to that business networking event, if you don't have to go out for drinks on the Friday night, if you don't have to stay up late on the Saturday night or the Friday night, don't. Okay? The more you can reduce your interaction with other people, the more you can, prioritize good quality sleep, getting an extra hour of sleep, getting more water, and just generally taking better care of yourself, the better you're going to perform when you go to that big presentation, when you go to that big meeting, when you take holidays. Isn't it funny how everyone gets sick when they go on holidays? I mean, like funny, not funny. You don't have time for that. If you're going away for Christmas, you just want to enjoy Christmas and you want to enjoy, the day itself and being around family and loved ones and giving gifts. And hopefully you don't get too many socks and soap. But my point being, this is just something that people really don't consider. People really don't consider where they are going just on a day-to-day basis and a week-to-week basis in the lead up to these really more significant and important events. And so what athletes will do, especially in the lead up to world championships, especially in the lead up to like Olympics and other special meets and events, they will really seriously reduce how many times they leave the house outside of training. So essentially they will only leave the house if they're going to go train, or if they're going to physiotherapy, or if they're going to get massage, or if they're going to go to the gym. If they're a swimmer and they do 3 gym sessions a week, cool, they'll go to the gym and do gym. But everything outside of what is absolutely necessary, they will not do. They will have it delivered to their house. They will have a family member deliver their groceries for them. Again, they're just reducing their risk of getting sick because they're reducing their exposure to other people and other people's germs. So yeah, it's just something to consider, because you don't have to get sick. You don't understand how much of a choice that often is. And with some small tweaks, we can really improve the strength of the immune system and reduce your risk of getting illness, and also reduce the duration of which you have symptoms. So that is all I had to share this morning. I hope you found that to be really, really helpful. If you want the breakdown of everything I just ran through, if you would like that sent to you, then please just leave me your email address or send it to me directly on Instagram. Jump into my DMs. I'm at Team Laura Phillips, PHILLIPS on Instagram. Connect with me there if that's not where you're watching from this morning. And if you are on the other platforms, then just reach out to my DMs there. So my Facebook DMs are open. LinkedIn is the same. Twitter, I need to log into. And I get notifications on YouTube. So if that's where you're watching from, I'll make sure I catch those messages when you send that over. Always love to hear your suggestions on what I should cover next. I want to talk about what you want to hear about. So be sure to leave me your suggestions. And again, if you found value out of this, please let me know. Send me a comment, double tap, share it to your stories, and have a wonderful Friday. I look forward to seeing you in the next training. Thank you so much for watching. If you're just joining me now, go back to the start, rewatch, send me your questions, and I'll make sure I get back to you. So have a beautiful Friday, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.